Good morning, all the beautiful souls today. It's a bit windy today. It's very cloudy, very dark after Easter. Which, by the way, happy belated Easter to all those who celebrate. I was quite busy yesterday, so I didn't get to post anything. But that's okay. That's okay. I had a good time yesterday, and I have a message that I wanted to bring about, the idea of worrying over the uncontrollable things, right? Worrying over things that are outside of your control. Now, to me, I know that I used to do that all the time. I used to worry about things that were outside of my control all of the time, right? And I still do. Hey, even today, before I even started making this video, I was hit pretty hard early in the morning, but with some information, and I'm gonna have to get it sorted out later. But I'm over here worrying about things that are outside of my control because I don't even know what's gonna happen, right? This idea of worrying about things that are outside of your control. I think a lot of us tend to do that. We there are things that like for example, like time, like maybe you leave at a certain time, and you're gonna be late, right? And so you worry about it, right? Or something like a test, right? Which you can mitigate by studying, but at the end of the day, you're still worried about it because it's outside of your control, right? And I just want to take a second, not only speak to myself, but anyone who might need to hear this. It's no use worrying about things that are outside of your control. That's why you just need to kind of cruise and let things come as they come. Back when I was working more, I sometimes I would leave out at later than I was supposed to, and I would get so mad at myself. I was like, oh man, I should have prepared more. Oh man, I'm gonna be late. Oh, I'm gonna get fired or something like that. When in reality, I should have been like, you know what? It is what it is, right? And just got there when I got there. Because there's no point in rushing when you already know you're gonna be late. So you may as well just relax. And that's just one example. There are many things that are outside of your control. Like, for example, the weather, right? Maybe you had something planned. Oh man. Yeah, I might have to wait for that. Them sirens be loud, man. I can never get my thoughts. But let's see. Yeah, the weather, right? That's what I was saying. So maybe you have something planned for a certain day, right? And the weather just does not want to act in accordance to that. Instead of getting mad at it, just be like, oh well, playing around it, because you can't control the weather. You could try to predict, right? Like plan like a more ideal day for the weather, but it's always changing, so you can never be completely accurate, right? Time and your circumstances as well. That's a big one. People always worried about their circumstances, right? Whether you might live with some not so nice people, whether you live in a less than fortunate area, or you're just around just people who are not really good for you, right? To a certain degree, you can't control that, right? Especially like if you're a kid, right? You can't control the things around you, right? Or the people around you, right? You just have to deal with the hand that you're dealt. But once you get into adulthood, right, and you are able to, take accountability for the situation that you're in, right? You need to also realize that growing up, there was just things that you could not control, right? And so instead of worrying about it, you just kind of had to just grow with it, grow past it, or whatever the case may be. I grew up with some pretty abusive parents, and while I am very grateful for what they've done for me, there was a lot of things that I wish they had done differently, right? But it's outside of my control how they treat each other, how they treat us, right? And so instead of just being mad that I can't change anything, now that I'm an adult, I have to take accountability for where I am, and I have to deal with the pain, right? Deal with the consequences, right? And grow with it, not let it affect me, not let it affect anyone else. Because if I just let it control me, right, let the habits that I've learned, or let the pain that was inflicted in my being spread out to other people, then that is solely on me. That is my fault, right? Because I didn't deal with it, right? When I was at a Easter party, right, I was hanging out with my family. There was a person there, a cousin. I haven't seen them ever, I don't think, actually. And they were going through a really hard time, and I remember them talking about how they felt that things were stacked up against them, that they were stressed out, and they were having like an identity crisis, right? And I don't know their entire life story, right? What I do know is that growing up, she was dealt a certain hand, right? But now she's at a point where she is able to change her own circumstances, right? Because there are certain things that she couldn't control, right? She couldn't control where she grew up, right? Or who she was around, or X, Y, and Z. But now they are an adult and they can't control that. But they have to take accountability for just their own issues, right? And just have to work with it. And we were helping them, right? We were helping them. But I just want that to serve, like, there are certain things that are always going to be outside of your control. You can't control everything because we're not God. We're not God. We can't control the time, the weather, the people around it. But you can deal with the hand that you're dealt. And you can play a damn good hand and change it. Right? Don't matter how bad it is. But it starts with taking accountability. I'm gonna go back to my own life, right? Just today, I realized just how much work I still needed to do, because I just saw a text message from someone that I'm pretty close with, saying like we need to have a conversation, right? And like over here, I'm going through my head. I was like what could possibly be going on? Like all these different things, like because I tend to overthink, right? But then, I took a second. I took a deep breath, and I was like, there's no use in overthinking all these different things. There's no use in getting worried about something that hasn't even happened yet. It's outside of your control, and the only thing I can do is be receptive to the information that's to come, and to be grateful, right? Because it was meant to come for a reason, right? I say this in the sense that it's gonna be negative, right? Because I don't even know that. That's just like, my own assumption. I just automatically assumed it's gonna be something negative, right? But I don't even know that because it's outside my control. Just goes to further show just how much things are outside of your control. And as much as you want to try to change them or deal with it, you can't. You just kind of have to receive it as it comes. It is hard to overcome that feeling or that way of thinking, right? Always worrying about things. My mom, she used to always call me a worrier, because that's what I would do. I would worry about things that were outside of my control all the time. But it's like the more I'm going through life, the more I realize just how silly it is, to worry about certain things. But it doesn't serve me anything. It doesn't benefit me. All it does is just hinder my day-to-day, because now my mind is so cluttered. It's so overran by all these overthinking thoughts, all because I'm trying to worry about things that are outside of my control. And so I wanna end it off with this, right? If you find yourself overthinking or worrying about things that are outside of your control, I want you to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I really worried about, right? And then I hope that by doing that, you're able to ground yourself a little bit more and brace yourself for what's to come. Whether it's something bad or maybe it's something good, but you're just nervous about it, right? Just brace yourself and understand that everything will be okay. Even if you have to change a situation, even if you have to change who you talk to, or even if a good change comes about that changes your entire life, everything will work itself out. But worrying about things that are outside of your control does not help you, okay? You just have to deal with what you're dealt with and just keep going along the ride, and everything will work itself out. And it's nice out today. I'm glad I was able to come out here, get some things off my chest, all while having weights on my chest the whole time. It's fun. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off around here. If you're seeing this, I love you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Make sure to take care of yourself. The only person who could take care of you is you. And always remember, there are things that are going to be outside of your control, and there's no use in worrying about it. Just deal with the hand that you're dealt, and everything will work itself out, as long as you want it to. Have a good one.